Wish to tell you why it's a good morning. The CO2 is feeding our plant life and our bodies and our earth. The sky is blue above those clouds. It looks like the rain's about to end. You're here and I'm here. And it looks like that people may be starting to wake up to a rotten, elite, privileged establishment. Yeah, I have to get up and get some more firewood before the Gestapo shows up to throw everybody off of our land, to which we have a right to forage for our necessities of life. Like I've said in the past, you look at yourself. Okay? Take a look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and ask yourself, what manner of man or woman, or say mankind, am I? And you can find your unique qualities in yourself. Nobody's the same. This is why communism and socialism can't work. It can never work. Because everyone is different. We're not made the same. Like we are the same because we're all of mankind. But we're also very unique, each individual. I try not to use the word individual because it's a bit of a legal term. Turn my hat around. So I'm watching this. Did you guys see that so-called editor of the 1% privileged in TO calling people, our people, calling them down with hate, spewing hate, and spewing a wish upon them to be killed? McLean's, if that man serves McLean's, I bet you it's not in their mandate for hate speech. That man either needs to be fired, or McLean's needs to lose their corporate license to operate on our land, okay? That man needs to be fired at McLean's. You need to. And you know what? If I was any of those folks down there that he was spewing hate speech to, then you guys should take a look at give them a blast to their own human rights court, that pseudo kangaroo court. But McCain's, yeah, no, you be either come out with you better do something. But anyways, I believe McCain should be sued for hate speech. McLean's, sorry, not McCain's. I apologize. I drink your juice. But McLean's, you need to be sued for hate speech. You are the 1%. You are the one spreading hate on the people. You are the one dividing the people. That man should not be working in any kind of public facet whatsoever. My God. My God. I'd like to see him in one of his fascist gulags. Somebody reminded me just this morning or yesterday, hey, don't just talk about the brown shirts of Hitler. Don't forget the black shirts of Mussolini, the other fascist. So I'm not forgetting about the black shirts of Mussolini. But I just want to read something to you. Now, anytime, like the English language is created, it's a creation of many languages. Of course, everybody knows Latin's predominant. But a lot of people don't realize that it's Euro-Asia is predominant, and lots of Norse and French and Germanic, make up the English language. So, what I like to do, if you ever get a chance, and it's fine looking up, Webster's. Webster's got hacked on by the English when he came out with I think it was the I can't remember when he came out with Webster's dictionary, which is a good dictionary. But when he came out with it, the English were all upset, because who is this man to define the English language for us? But it's the American dictionary, and I think it works just fine. But if you ever really wish to see the history of a word, etym it, and go on etym online, okay, or etymology dictionary, and so hate, okay, hatred, spite, envy, malice, okay. So when somebody's spewing off hate speech, it's hatred. It's spite. It's envy, right? Green with envious. Is that what the Greens are? Malice. Now, hate mail was first attested in 1951. Hate crime was attested by 1988. Okay, so that's when I believe it came into the criminal code. But here's a poem in 1898 that a man wrote. So don't get all your religious feathers up in an uproar. All right, the foundation of every common law land on the planet is Judeo-Christian. Okay, principles. That's why you are innocent until proven guilty on this land. Hey, which one of you politicians is going to repeal any bill that puts reverse onus on our people to prove themselves innocent and guilty until proven innocent? Hey, why aren't you guys talking about this? I'll get into my rant here in a second, but I wanted to read you this poem from 1898, which was the first time that the phrase hate speech was kind of ever publicly used, ever put in to the public or ever noticed. So the poem. Dear was he to our Lord, but it could not be hidden that his angel began to be proud, lifted himself against his leader, sought hate speech, words of boasting against him, and would not serve God. Now this is exactly what our public servants are doing to us. Okay, they serve us. We created the government to serve the people. They are there to serve us. The public courthouses, those public buildings belong to us. This public land belongs to us. It doesn't belong to Elizabeth. She may have a claim on it, but I'd like to see her verify it in court under oath or affirmation. She's the CEO of the corporate body Politic. She's the head of a corporation that runs as a de facto country. We don't have a de jure country. And like I said before, that's fine as long as they stay within the mandate that's been allotted to them. So who is the government's God? I believe it is you and I. It's us. All persons. Well, I can't say all persons. Let's rephrase that. Like any persons that our public service has created, driver, parent, children. I mean, they have jurisdiction over their persons. Okay, which is why anytime you walk down the street, somebody is trying to put you in some kind of personhood, so that they can have jurisdiction over you. Which is why there is no law that forces man to do anything on this land. Certainly is no law that forces mankind to carry paperwork to keep the Gestapo and the brown shirts happy if they come across you. Unless you are directly being investigated for a crime. It's solid in our foundation, in our culture. Our culture. That's why I like this Max guy. He's not going to pander to any group, but he's going to work his butt off. He's going to work his butt off for Canadians, and And I'm not talking about Trudeau's dirty butt working against Canadians. So, hate speech in itself is a relatively new concept, which is fine, because I think if true hate speech, like this man at Maclean's magazine, that was hate speech. That was hate speech. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. I hope you folks that were there that he spewed the hate speech to, I hope you haul his ass up to that kangaroo human rights court. He should be charged. I don't know the criminal codes on the hate speech. I didn't study them, but I don't even care. Let's talk about the codes, okay? Every time Parliament passes a law, and whether it receives royal assent or not, what they do is Thomson Reuters. It's a legal corporation. What they do, and they not only do it for us, they also do it for the Americans, and I think the English too, is they codify the law. So there'll be a law, say at Parliament, or law at the legislative building, that's scrolled, you know. I think the Queen's printer has access to the law. I'm not yeah, I think so. Or copies, of certified copies or whatever. But so anytime any of these legal persons that serve the public come on to you with a code, okay, so you broke, you know, criminal code this, or you broke this code, you broke that code. First off, the code is not the law. Okay, now the code was interpreted by some outfit called Reuters. So, I mean, if the establishment is coming after somebody with some kind of code, don't you think it would be common sense that they actually bring the law in? Because who is authorized to interpret legal code? Well, legal persons. So who is a legal person? Well, somebody that went to school, the university, college to become a legal person. Somebody that's accredited to the legal society, like a lawyer or a judge. They're the legal persons. Which is why anytime somebody's hauling your butt up into court for some kind of breach of a code, they wish you to get a lawyer, or they wish you to come in and be recognized as a person, as a self-litigant or a pro se, and then they can just start nicknaming all kinds of, profiling you with all kinds of slanderous nicknames after that, just to get jurisdiction over you, so they have control. Now, they do have control over you. I know you're yelling at me now, aren't you? You is plural, guys. You establishes that one of mankind with a person. You, plural, always plural. I know somebody said you were charged with such and such, and I asked him who you was. And the man in the black robe yelled at me, and he goes, "You or you?" I said, "What, I am you?" No, I'm a man. All right? Now, we do have public laws. And public laws are good. If they're a good law. If they're a bad law, we should be able to hold a court of record, trial by jury, that only falls under the common law, where the magistrate is independent of the tribunal. Because if they do, for some reason, get a bad law passed, we have the right and should be recognized at our public court buildings that, no, it's a bad law. Now, they do have in the criminal code, which I've spoken before, is, you have lawful excuse. And I see Trudeau with this lawful excuse. I haven't seen it over the $40 billion giveaway LNG project yet, but I did see it over using the people's money to jet set when he was campaigning in BC. So he was jet setting to his campaigns back and forth. And his lawful excuse there was, well, British Columbia is like a second home to me. And that's what he's doing, guys. You know, the trickery speech that they use is there. And you have to listen closely to find it. So anyways, yeah, he hasn't come out with this lawfully, or I haven't heard about this. I heard something this morning there. I caught some kind of CBC thing where he was at some kind of daycare, spewing off, oh, hey, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to give some of the money that we extorted from you, forced out of you, taxed out of you, you know, so, and he had the audacity to say, well, you know, because families have to work so hard these days to survive, so we're going to make sure you get supplied child care. Whoa, dude. I'm going to give you the proper interpretation or the proper definition of dude as well before I end this video. So, okay, give us, right? But, like, fella, run the economy. You're giving away the public's money. You're giving away our resource money. You're giving away what belongs to us. Okay? As if it's your own private bank account. We need a mandate that shuts any government down from any corporate welfare. We need a fair tax system. We require energy because it is a necessity for survival. Your CO2, your lies, your outright lies about CO2 being a pollutant is wrong. Etymologize the word wrong. It means crooked. It means you woke up this morning thinking how you were going to screw somebody. All the establishment is crooked. And if anyone in the establishment that serves the public isn't crooked, they're controlled and you can't hear from them, and there's nothing they can do to represent you or to present the people to Parliament, because they will get shut down and they need their job and they need their 4-year pension plan, they need their expense account. So they won't say anything, throw you under the bus. Except for maybe somebody like Max. Now, I'm not trying to hold Max up on a big pedestal or something, but he is the first man I have seen. Okay, maybe not the first, you know. But he's really put himself out on the line to share his passion for our nation. Our nation. North, south, east, and west. Our nation, our culture. You know, it's part of our culture to trust in the establishment, and it should never have been that way here. I blame our forebears. You know, I blame my great-great-grandfather for not standing up. He had a good relationship with our native cousins, but for not standing up, for no voices being heard for our native cousins and our Métis cousins. These people have a history of victimhood, of being kept down with the establishment's foot on their head, and we did nothing to help. And now, you know, back 40 years ago, 70% of the population thereabouts lived within the country, and 30% lived within the cities. Then we started to get prosperous. We started to develop things like scrubbers for, I believe that was a Canadian invention, scrubbers for stacks and that, cleaning up the act. Jobs in the cities, people left the farms. The family farms were sold off to corporations because nobody wanted to take the farm, or the family farms were forced into being corporations, so that when mom and pop wanted to hand it down to their kids, they couldn't, because nobody could afford the capital gains on our family farms. All right, so hate speech. Relatively fairly new concept. I can see it. To public for a man who represents Maclean's magazine, or let's just call him a person. For that person to come out of Maclean's building, that's an editor for Maclean's magazine, to spew hate on our people. See, that's what they do. They divide us. We all have the same issue, except for the elitists. Okay? They're using public money to keep upper middle class going, and by using the public money to keep the mainstream media, which lives in a more upper middle class than most of you folks, or me, then they can, they're just another party. They're the right-hand propaganda of the government, and they're being fed public money, and so they have no fear of the public. They have no fear of you and I, and all they can do is just work on, being crooked, being wrong. How can I be wrong today? Well, the establishment wants me to, make sure I keep people divided so that they can't come together, and then we can say, oh, yeah, we have no culture, and it's just a post-state. To hell with you. To hell with you. We've been through bad and good together. Our forefathers been through bad and good together. I don't know if it's the law still on the books there. It's called the Good Samaritan law. But in Canada, if you're in the wilderness in Canada and you see somebody on the side of the road, you would have to stop. Now, Canadians would always stop to make sure you're okay. We did that, and some of us still do that as a people, as a nation, as part of our culture. I stopped in for a guy. I was going through Rogers Pass one year. Oh, it was quite a harsh winter. And here was one of our veterans. He's from northern Quebec. I believe he has a piece of property on south part of James Bay. Cold place. But this man was living in his camper, and what he was doing was he got hurt in the Gulf War. And he got hurt, and so, he was tripping around. He didn't have much of a pension. Our guys don't really get much of a pension. But he was tripping around, and he didn't care where he was. The man knew that he had a right to forage for necessities, okay, for sustenance. So whether he was in a federal park, a provincial park, or no park, if he was hungry, he'd go throw his fishing rod in, and he'd catch himself a fish and eat dinner. And he wasn't scared of the establishment, and he'd like to see the establishment come on to a crippled vet that put his ass on the line to represent our nation. So anyways, I found the guy. I saw him on the side of the road, and it looked like he broke down. So he was having some issues. So I can't remember. I helped him get the truck going. And we got him over. There used to be a gas station on top of Rogers Pass, but it's been closed because of the crap economy that you've blessed us with there, Mr. and Mrs. Establishment. Doing everything you can to ruin our lives. Doing everything you can to keep your foot on your head. Because if they can keep you poor and they can keep you wanting, then they can keep control over you. Because if we were all able to go out and create something good for ourselves. Say we had decent environmental laws. Say we had decent public laws that allowed people to be able to afford to, say, go after our natural resources and build something off of that, and then all the sub-jobs that come off of that. We wouldn't need, so many big corporate lobbyists. We wouldn't need outfits. We wouldn't need the big... Well, maybe we would need the big LNG project that Trudeau broke the law and gave away to the Chinese so they could dump more steel and use slave labor on us. Isn't anybody upset about this? So anyways, we got at Rogers Pass, and I got him some booster cables. Oh yeah, I drove up to the gas station, got him some booster cables, and went back, boosted him. I got him over there and made sure he was okay and in a safe spot. And he was living in his little camper. It's one of those small, I believe it was one of those small Toyota trucks with the mini campers on the back. But no, he was on his adventure and doing his thing and stuff. I remember one time I was going through the south, so that would be number 1 highway, the Trans-Canada public road, and I was on another public road, and I was just coming up to what we used to call the Skyway. Actually, it used to even be called that on the maps, and they took it off, and I don't know, they call it the Salmo Creston Pass now. But it was the morning after Thanksgiving. I was just heading off. I was working out in Alberta. God bless Alberta. And God bless the people of Alberta. And God bless the people of Quebec. Don't let the establishment divide us. We are a nation, and we do have a culture. And I seen this guy. There was like a little turnout where a couple of cans, and garbage dispensary by South San Juan River. And I seen this guy sleeping at the picnic table, just sitting at it with his head down. And it was a cold, frosty morning. So I stopped and I asked the man, "Are you all right?" And he said, "Yeah." The Nova Scotia, was he from southern New Brunswick or Nova Scotia? Forgive me that I don't remember. It might have been. I know his whole family, and he had generations fishermen. But he got hoodwinked into coming to British Columbia, and he was an older man. He was well into his 60s, and maybe just under pension age. And so I said, "Well, so where are you going?" And he says, I'm heading back to the Maritimes. I can't take it here. I was, the best I could do out here was get some kind of job at a 7-Eleven or a gas station. You can't even pay rent. And this is before rent really went up, okay? So I said, well, okay, I'm heading east. I got to go. And I was heading for my paycheck. A lot of times these things get delayed after a job. And they got to make sure that basically your work and construction is approved, and then they release the check to you. So I'm heading east, and I get to Cranbrook and needed some fuel. So I checked my funds. And I couldn't just leave the guy this man in side of the highway before I head to Calgary. I just didn't feel right. And I was with my brother's family and friends and my family and my beautiful wife of 30 plus years. And it was just wrong to me to have such a wonderful night before. Even though you got to work away from home or sleep in a camper while you're at a job site or something, I had a home to come to. I had friends and family to come home to. And here was a man by himself with no friends trying to get home. He did have a home in New Brunswick or Nova Scotia. I can't remember. So in Cranbrook, I made sure I had enough fuel to get to work, and I knew I had a payday coming. So I went over to Greyhound. Oh, there's no Greyhound here, guys. There's no passenger trains in Western Canada that we can actually use, except for your tourist, your very expensive tourist. Oh, sorry, I'm starting to sound like two angry dudes or something. So So I got into the Greyhound, and I said, well, just hang out. I didn't tell him what was going on, and I says, I think I had just under $300 in my pocket. I said, how far will this get a guy east towards the Maritimes? And so the clerk dude, I shouldn't use the word dude, guys. I'm going to explain to you the definition of it. But the man,